Um, we're going. We are. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. This is Sentient Cloud. It's been a little while, and in that interim, I've learned a bit more about not only the problems that my editor has, but how to actually test it a little bit better. So I thought it would be useful to go back and implement some better testing and fix some of the bugs that were present in the editor. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go and just use this. I think this is the correct one. Start with the... Oh, interesting. Okay. We do this. Okay, there we go. All right. Now this is, first of all, very, very simplistic. And just gonna go ahead and start here. So uh, I'm just gonna go and make all the changes I feel are necessary. Get rid of that. And I guess probably that too. And hold on, change this. I'm referencing a different file here from a project I've been working on separately. Let's see, I think that was in. So yeah, here we are. Okay. And then we need okay. I don't have any things that I need to load in, no like dynamic libraries or anything, so we'll leave that as is. So debug is going to be we're going to have a release version. Geez, can't type. Now, this has changed slightly. It's going to be there, and then name, that's P. Yeah, that's everything. Okay. Go ahead and put this in. And yeah, I don't want to do that. One of the problems that I noticed when I was working on this, or I should say when I was using this editor, is that there is, or there are some bugs with the copying and pasting. Like, my guess is that it's something to do with the sizing. Like, the sizes aren't being recorded properly, as far as I can tell. So I am going to have to look into that here. And one of the things that I learned better is how to test things without requiring that I put stuff into the main binary. So I wasn't really sure how to do that before. Okay. Just get rid of that. Need that. And this is just so that I can force certain parts of this make file to run regardless of whether or not they have new stuff. So actually keep that there. That can stay. HPP. This is for profiling. I may not actually need this, but it certainly doesn't hurt to have it available. And this is some stuff to basically make those profiling files go into the profiling folder with a specific name. Because normally how it works is the compiler, in this case this is GCC, it will output a, I think it's gmon.out is the name of the file, and that allows your system to basically profile the code. And so then I want the reporting from that to go into a specific file and then put that into a folder so that if I want to, I can read it later. Okay, next is the bug rule. Okay. And I don't have any loading flag or libraries, so I don't need to include LD flags. Like I said, I'm referencing another project here that I have, and I have LD or libraries that I load in that. So, okay, test. This is one of the ones I want to force to occur. We'll do tests ran. Might not necessarily need that. We'll see. Okay. I want to force it to compile. Plus C flags. This is going to still use D flags. One issue that I don't know if there's a hello. So depends on which one you're talking about. This one, I mean, the terminal editor does work. I'm just going through and making some fixes, some improvements and testing. The graphical editor is still kind of sitting in the hangar. It hasn't taken off yet, mainly because I'm still working on getting the text buffer where I want it, because I want to be able to compare and test between a gap buffer and maybe some other kinds of buffers. And it's just taking more time than I would have expected to make well, particularly the what's it called? I think it's called like a peace tree or something. It's similar to like a peace table, but a peace table mixed with a binary tree, or I guess a B tree also could theoretically be that. Yes, I have used a gap buffer for this one, and it works pretty well to the point where I'm sort of I think so, maybe. I don't remember precisely. Let me just take a quick look here. Maybe it's the one that is. Oh wait, what? Whoa! Hold up, the heck? Jeez, hold on. Okay, I think I'm back. Screwed that up there a bit. Yeah, it's the one that is the one that Visual Studio. Why does it keep doing that? Oh my gosh. Hold on. I need to fix some stuff here. That's twice now that's happened. Go away. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there. Something weird with my mouse. Yeah, so it's the one that's referenced in the Visual Studio Code article about the topic of text editing or text buffering. Um, and let's see, STL compatible. See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if I need to make it STL compatible, but one thing that I do, because like just at the very basic level, all that I really need is just the characters. I made some adjustments, and actually I can show you once I finish copying down this stuff because I want to finish the make file first before I go somewhere else. So let me just do that here. But I did end up sort of implementing. It would probably be better if I were to implement a like a base gap buffer structure that's like a template, and then go further and use that to implement the actual buffer itself. Because one thing that I'm not totally sold on is how I did the line recording, which is, I don't know, it just feels a little janky to me, and it doesn't feel quite correct. I don't know. I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. I think I had it in a previous episode when I was just going through and fixing the buffer, but one sec here. So we want, that should not be, that should be, okay. All right. Don't need loading flags. Here. Same deal here. Oh, wrong thing. Okay. Build. At one point, I was trying to make a new, like a new build system for C++ because I was getting kind of annoyed of having to write make files. But I think what I'm going to do at some point here is just put together like some kind of bash script or something to just automatically generate this particular file, because this I think will probably suit my needs just fine. Okay. G++. Mm-hmm. So, it kind of depends. So, like, for just general kind of working on stuff, um, let's see. Yeah, I'll answer the first one first. So I'm not sure if I quite understand what you mean by vendor them locally. I'll just explain what I do. So basically, like most of the libraries that I end up using, I have on my system just by default in the Universal System Resources, or USR folder. So I've got them stored in there usually, and then I just reference them with -L and then the name of the library. If I were to try and distribute this, that it would depend on like where I'm distributing it. Like if it's going to be a Linux package, typically that's how you also distribute the libraries if they're dynamic. On Windows, I know that it's not typically the case that you put DLLs in like some kind of centralized folder. So in that case, I'd probably have to ship the DLLs alongside it, or else compile them statically into the code. But that's not really an issue that I've run into like particularly. That said, I should be a bit better about making sure that my programs are referencing um, like a specific version of a library if I can help it. At least major versions, because of course, it's pretty standard in most projects, as far as I'm aware, to not make breaking changes within major versions. But even then, it does happen, and people don't always follow that convention, so you'll end up with problems if you aren't specifying the specific uh, library that you want to use. So I probably should be a bit more careful about it, but when I'm just developing stuff, it's really not that big of a deal for me. And I'm not to the point yet where I've ever actually um, distributed a piece of software. So I'll just have to see what I want to do then. Let's see. Yeah, I've tried using CMake like once or twice, and it just feels really, really big and clunky, and doesn't seem to fix the problems that I have with Make. Like it kind of does, but it kind of doesn't, and I'm just not really thrilled about it. Um, and yeah, I tried doing a custom build system, but it's actually shockingly difficult, and kind of time consuming to get it all to work right. And so I've just kind of part of the problem was I was having trouble with dependencies, because one of the issues that I ran into, because I was trying to use the module system in C++, which is horribly underbaked and probably shouldn't be used for anything significant. I haven't found it to be very helpful. Um, and one of the problems I had was that most build systems don't seem to, like, by default, take into account module dependencies. So they'll try to compile things um, in the wrong order, and thus they'll fail. And so in order to fix that, you need to either include modules, or there's like a dependency thing you can output, which I don't know. It just strikes me as way more complicated than it should be. And this would have been acceptable like a couple decades ago, but at this point, most programming languages have a fairly sensible build system that kind of comes alongside it as sort of like a standard part of it. And so the fact that there isn't something similar for C or C++, especially C++. With C, I kind of get it. C is sort of designed to live in a very older, like a much kind of a much older group of people. They all have their own preferred way of doing things. But with C++, they seem to be trying to go for making the language standardized. And so it seems a bit odd for me to have it be the case that there's not a single standard build system that's just like ready to go right off rip. You don't need to configure things to make it happen. And yeah, modules are a more recent feature, and in my opinion, it's not really well designed. I don't know if it's just that module systems are just super duper difficult to make. That might be the case, but regardless of what the reason is, it's just not very well built at this point. So I certainly wouldn't recommend using them. The main reason I tried to use them was because was tired of having to write header files, but the amount of headaches that I got from using it was way worse than just writing a header file. So that was kind of where I was coming from, and it didn't end up helping me much at all. So anyway, okay, I've got that. Yeah, and that's like, to an extent, it is the result of being just limited because C++ is old, and so people have the ways that they want to make things happen. The thing that because like for me at least, I know basically nothing about cargo other than hit cargo build or cargo run, and it builds the thing and it runs it. So it doesn't seem that far-fetched that you could build a set like a build system that would just kind of have a very simple default, like a sensible default. And then if somebody's like, oh, I need to implement this specific feature because I need to load these libraries, or I need to run this thing, like maybe you are writing a graphical program using precompiled shaders where like Like you compile the shaders ahead of time before you start running OpenGL, or I think Vulkan also uses that by default. So in order to do that, you have to, in the build files, say, hey, compile these shaders first, and then emit a precompiled binary. That might not be something that a kind of standard C build tool would be able to handle. But the standard case of, oh, I have all of my source files in a source folder. I've got, a build folder and a bin folder and, a bunch of basic stuff and some testing. Like, that's the kind of thing that I would think that a build system for C++ should be able to handle by default pretty easily. It's just that it doesn't exist. And like you said, there are standards. You've got make or GNU make, you've got CMake, you've got pre-make, you've got all these build systems, but they all require configuration before you use them. And that's the thing that really bugs me, because I don't want to do that. I want to be able to just say, hey, make a new project, and it makes the project. And then I want to say, build the project, and it builds the project. And I don't want to have to go in and say, oh, well, I want the, I want to have to, I don't know how to write a config file for all this. That's the thing that annoys me. I don't want to be writing config files. I want to be writing code files. And for whatever reason, it seems like C++ and C are both kind of allergic to that to an extent. Anyway, all right, let me get back to this, because I do want to show kind of what I'm talking about. The STL gap buffer. Are you talking about C++ specifically? I'll assume that you're talking about C++, but it is, but I don't think that that actually causes. Yeah, I don't think that actually causes many problems, because like most of the bloat and the stuff that you're talking about, as far as I'm concerned, would probably live in the standard library, right, in the STL, the standard template library. That's where most of the problems are, or they're in just like the base language. And both of those are things that just get linked by default. Like, I don't need to link anything in order for those bloating features to exist in the code. The thing that makes it difficult, I guess, would be things like including libraries from external sources, and especially with library versions, because doing that is a little clunky on when it comes to most C compilers or C++ compilers. But you can figure that out. Like I've done it before by hand. It doesn't seem completely implausible to have a system where that's relatively relatively well handled. The main issue with that would be making sure that you have the proper libraries installed. Like with Cargo, like we were talking about before, Cargo goes and it grabs those libraries by default. So you say, hey, I want, version 1.2.3 of X library. It goes and fetches it from its repository. I don't think that's really feasible for C++, just because there's no centralized repository for any of its libraries. So you would have to do all that kind of stuff manually, or else kind of have something that would work based on Git repos, which would also be very sketchy. So yeah, it would definitely be a challenge to get the library part of that working. But I think just the kind of general like C++ bloat kind of stuff, like the standard template library, the just the basic language itself, those are not too terribly difficult to have a build system work, right? If I can make that happen in just a make file, I think it's relatively feasible to do the same in another build tool. But yeah, yeah, and like Arch Linux does have a kind of like a decent system for that with the AUR, the Arch user repositories, but there are still problems. One of them being that you don't get to make as many decisions about like what you're taking in. Yeah. Well, and I actually don't know what Conan is. Hold on, I'll look that up. Okay, it's package manager. Okay, neat. I actually didn't know about that. I'll look at that a bit more later. Um, but yeah, no, I agree. The main, for me at least, if I can just make something where I can list libraries and just compile everything into like a sensible set of defaults, and there's some other things that would be nice to haves, but that would really make things a lot easier, because the main issue I have is I have to go and I have to manually specify that I want you to look at the source folder. That's a very regular thing that most people will have. They'll have some kind of source folder. It may not be completely standard, but especially for Unix, it's very standard. Same thing with like bin or build, or I don't know if tests is a standard name for the folder with all the tests in it, but it seems to be fairly normal. So I think it is reasonably possible, and I have kind of done stuff like that, but certainly not simple. Hold on here. Let's go ahead and get. Yes. Now, to be fair, I think the problem would be less significant with everybody who's using this being a developer. But then you would also have hackers who are just smarter about it, targeting them, because one of the problems with the AUR is just that most people don't even bother looking at what they're installing, and that's okay, but like for some things, like there are some things where you expect to be able to trust them, but where does that, like, how do you decide what you can trust? And that's been a problem with the AUR for a long time, and it's a problem for any open source, like open package managing system. If anybody can put something in there, then they can put something nefarious, and there's really no easy solution for that. That's been a problem for every open package manager. Um, and I don't think you could easily get a closed package manager, and if you could, I don't think people would really use it, because one of the main like having to go through and audit all of that is just a pain, and you need somebody who's like probably being paid in order to do that consistently. And of course, you need to make sure that the person who's doing the auditing is not taking bribes or something to do that. Okay, here we go. Can I just do... Oh, just ran into that bug I was talking about. I mentioned before there were some bugs here. One of them is that if I delete things, it doesn't properly allow me to go down all the way. So I'm trying to go down here. It's not letting me go down further. So that's a problem. I'm going to go ahead and close and reopen this. It seems to go away when actually I could just reopen the file. But anyway, we'll work with that later. Specify force, and then and that's just telling it that regardless of whether or not it thinks it should rerun, I want it to rerun. Okay. Yeah, so there's a couple of problems with this that I'm gonna have to fix, but all right. Let's go to it's a gap buffer.cp or HPP. We'll go to HPP first. Okay. I'm just going to ignore that there. Yeah, so one of the things, this is to Ash's point about the STL-enabled gap buffer. one of the things that my gap buffer here has is this. It has two vectors that store the cursor or the line numbers. And the problem with that is that I would rather that this be some kind of gap buffer itself. So basically, you have a gap buffer that stores the character data and then a gap buffer that stores the line number data. So I might end up fixing that, but I'm going to focus on other things first. So let me do that here. I wanted to fix the logger. Go here. So a couple of things. Because this has actually been, I've basically broken this intentionally because I didn't want to have to deal with fixing it. So what I'm going to do, let's see. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go and get rid of this for now. I'm just going to go ahead and I want to do this. Is there a way to use the print line function on... Ooh, actually, I think there is. Hold on. Sorry, I'm terrible at finishing thoughts. Okay. String. I think that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, STD format. Perfect. Okay. So, let's see what we got here. Yeah, I don't handle that. This thing does not handle horizontal scrolling, which is why I've had to be a bit more careful about really long lines. In fact, this is not a great thing that I have here because it means that I can't, use up half the screen. I've kind of come to the practice of just having lines that are short enough that I can view them on a split view. This is not that, so I need to fix that as well. Okay, so let's see. Okay. So I'll go ahead and do a buffer. And we'll say this. That many characters. And then actually does format work off of strings? Yeah, it does. Okay, so that makes actual strings. Okay, so what I'll do then, let's call it string application, and let's go ahead and include string here. And is that something I need to include? Yeah, it's in the header format header. So I need to make sure I include that too. There. Okay, so format, and then do bug. Let's basically copy this. Actually, no, because I don't think the format function, I'm pretty sure it's aware of the types, so I don't need to specify them. Okay. Just include, we'll go down a level for this. Location.file name and location.function. And I'm going to shorten that to long, because there's no reason to make it super long. Okay. I'm just going to get rid of this because I don't need it. And let's see. Definitely do want the log file. Okay. Get rid of this. And let's see. I don't think I actually need this either. Like, it would be ideal to check for stuff, whether it exists, but change this name too. Let's call it string log. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll add in format, and then where is Yeah, the main problem that I have had to deal with that makes it actually surprisingly difficult to log things properly is normally, like most logging systems, spit things into the standard output. The trouble is, if you're making a terminal editor, you can't do that. And due to how I'm using it, if there's a problem and it crashes, the program craps itself, and like I have to basically close the terminal and then open a new terminal and start all over, which is a real pain in the neck. So yeah, that makes things a lot more annoying. It's part of the reason why I'm interested in making a graphical editor, because I can kind of move away from that. Okay, so we want a, hold on, I'm just gonna, I think that's how I'm gonna do things. Right? Yeah. Okay, so format, and I think it's VA opt. I think that's how I want it. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay. And then this is fine. That's fine. Okay, cool. So this needs to have it's like string view, I think, is how they typically do it. And that's a just be format. Hold on now. I want to make sure I'm getting this right. Yeah, runtime format string. It's v format. Okay. So can I just use this then? Think so? Actually, change this. I've been using Vim, or sorry, NeoVim recently, and so I'm just so used to being able to click and like Vim. The NeoVim is way more advanced than this editor is, so it's a little chafing to go back to using this. Okay, just want to do args. I think that's how I can do things here. And then printf, I guess just go with that and log.cstring. Okay. And log param can go away. I'm no longer using this. I didn't know about print line or format or any of that other stuff, so kind of missed out a bit on some of that nice thing, some of those nice things. This, let's see. I'll leave those as is for the moment, I think. All right, let's try making this. So just hit make, find test. Okay, okay. Tests. Okay, let's try that again. Huh. What's going on there? Yeah, the thing that I was struggling with was I didn't know that STD format even existed. Um, I'm not very well versed on the STL, and so I was basically rolling my own version to make it work, which is certainly not impossible, but it's not fun. Um, yeah, so I had to do that. Okay, why is that not building? C. Hmm. Oh, hold on. Forgot to have a build folder. That might influence. Okay. Needed by bit. Okay, why? Build to make build. Okay. What's going on here? Oh, that's why. I see. Okay. All right. In member function, EAR is not declared in the scope. Weird. Why is that not there? Hmm. Hmm. Maybe something. there. Maybe that's... This is what it wants. I don't know. Variadic arguments were always kind of a pain in the neck, in my experience. Okay. So that needs to be... Okay. It's not a constant expression. Okay, so how do you pass those? Mm-hmm. So okay, so this needs to be this, I guess. Maybe. Runtime format, is that? Not, no, not exactly. So I'll show you kind of what I rolled, because this was something that I made for C. So it's not quite a cert, but it is certainly within that vein. Let's see, what's going on here? Why is that not working? Not a member of STDA, so where do you get that from? Hold on. Is that... Oh! Interesting, okay. Okay. Huh. Interesting. C++ constant function parameter, I guess, maybe? Okay. Well, I'm not going to worry about that just yet. I'll just... How do I make that work? Okay, so maybe it's this way. Maybe this is how you're supposed to do it. Hold on. Oh. Format, string, and then pass it the args. And then I guess go down here. I think this will work. Let's see if we get what we want. Okay, well, oh man, that's annoying. Maybe I just turn this into a... Okay. Let's see if this works. scope here, and then let's go ahead and copy this line. Paste it. Okay. And let's just see if we can make this work using a bunch of defines. And then sneaking suspicion this is not going to work, but we'll see. Okay. Actually, I could do it this way. This might actually be a better way to do it. So we want string log there. And then get rid of this real quick. Hold on. Message. Okay. Just plus equals that together. Log those. Okay. So get rid of this. My plan is to make it my own custom GUI, so I don't plan to use a library for it. I've tried using stuff like GTK and Qt, but neither of those really seem to, like, I guess, speak to me when I use those terms. So yeah, that's kind of my plan here. Okay, debug. Want, gosh, what is it? CD source location dot, what's it? Is it current? I think that's the correct one. And then message. And I think that's everything I want. Okay. I think that's what I want. All right, let's. Okay, hold on. Stupid. I think, yeah, I think that's. Ah. I might look into that, see what that, see if that is what I'm looking for. Okay. Come on, why is it? Why is it being silly? What is going on? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I think I might know what's going on here. That is a static. It is not. It's not in scope. Or debug. Oh, geez Louise. Okay. Okay, well, it's not a problem with debug. So that's nice. All right. What was I going to look at? Right, testing. So let me open up. First, I need to make this. One of the other problems this editor has is it cannot make files in the editor itself. Okay, let's also have gap buffer .cpp, and I think that's all I need. Okay, let me open. Hold on. Nope, wrong place. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So let me open up test.h. So this is just going to have some pretty basic testing stuff. So let me just go ahead. F. Just put header guards. Real quick. Okay. Include. And yeah, you know what? I'm just going to copy this. Hold on. Can I just... There we go. All right, so this is really, really basic stuff, but essentially what it does is it initializes a couple of variables, and then every time I give it a test case, it's going to increment the number of tests that it's working with, and then it tests that condition. If the test passes, then it'll increment this as well. At the end, it just tells you, oh, this number of tests passed. Also, I forgot to mention each of these. If a particular test passes, it'll say passed, otherwise it'll say failed. So to kind of show you what that would look like, let me go ahead and open up .cpp, and go ahead and include .h, and c gap .hp int main. Okay. And then I would have like a list of conditions. So start with the init here, and report will return the number of, the number of failed tests, and also it will print out the number of tests that passed. So you get both output that can be read outside of the, like just from the return value of the program, as well as stuff in the standard output. Okay, let's do test case, and I'll just say something obviously wrong here, just to kind of show what this is going to look like. So if I do make test, there should be. Why is there not? Hold on. Tests. Hold on. Let's fix that. Okay, so it's not even compiling, so test in that case is kind of unnecessary. Okay, what's the problem? Gap buffer load file. If not condition. Huh. Oh, it's because okay. I'm getting rid of that assert because that's thought I was being clever by rolling my own, but that's clearly not the case. So we're gonna go here first. I'm just gonna go and get rid of this because I don't end up. Hold on, I'm just gonna backspace here. Okay, now we'll go to gap buffer CPP. Okay, well, for now, I'll just go ahead and get these. Just comment this out. Fix those later. Oh, jeez. Yeah, okay. There we go. So this is the basic testing framework here. So it will like print each of the test conditions. So in fact, I'll just go ahead and show you kind of what that did. Oh, I'll show you afterwards. And then it prints the number of tests that were ran and the number of them that passed, and then it just says tests ran. And I don't actually think I need that, but it doesn't matter. Just kind of show what that looks like. So this is where it prints out the condition, and then if it succeeds, it will increment the tests passed variable and then say that it passed, and otherwise it'll say it failed. So that's how I'm doing the testing. It's very, I mean, it's a little janky, but it works. It's surprisingly effective, and it saves me from having to include tests in the main binary, which is something that I was doing before and was stupid, admittedly. Okay. All right, so let's get to, hang on, do I still have, yeah, text buffer still exists. Rope also exists. Let's get rid of that. Hold on. rm rope.hpp, because I'm not using that. Definitely not using that. What else? Okay. So I'm gonna go and make some changes to gap buffer. Actually, first I'm gonna fix the copying and pasting issue. I think that's probably more important. Yeah, I mean it works pretty well. Despite the fact that it does feel a little weird, I always feel kind of weird when I use macros in C, but it works and it's pretty fast. And the main problem I have is that I just had to keep re-implementing it for each project, but that's something that could be fixed with either a like a script or including it in my universal system resources. So I don't know. I haven't really come to a conclusion about which of those I want to do because it's a very, very small file, but every time you have to write it is just a little more headache. So, anyway, all right. Let's go to, I think it's gap buffer. Yeah, and like I like C to an extent, but there are a lot of things where you really just cannot get away without using a macro to make it work, which is kind of annoying. So yeah. All right. I want to open. I think I want to open. Was it that buffer.cpp? Ooh. Oh right. There. Okay. Okay. So now let's go ahead and. All right. Okay, so this is not where I need to look. Let's go to textbuffer.cpp. Oh, excuse me, text, not test. There we go. All right, so oh wait, hold up. Okay, so where is that? Okay, so let's see, cancel selection, that's, okay, so I think delete section selection is where things are going weird. So hold on. Let's get back real quick. Okay, so delete selection is when it occurs when I press backspace while I've got stuff selected. So if I were to go, hold on, let's make something like this. And then I, either Y or D will enter select mode. And then I press backspace, that triggers delete selection. So I do that, delete the selection, and it doesn't seem to have a problem. Maybe it's only in one direction. So if I go here, press backspace, we can have a problem. Okay, maybe it's multiple lines. Fortunately, I don't know if this one is something that can really be dealt with more testing. So let's do a multi-line comment here. And then we'll say, whatever. Okay, and then select, delete. Okay. Seems fine. So we'll just go ahead and do this again. Okay, let's go with this. Okay, so I think last time was it top to bottom? This one. Try that. Is that what's causing the problem? No. Okay, what is going on here? Maybe it's specifically at the end of the file. So we'll start from the end here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Try this again. Go from the bottom to top. Or top to bottom, I guess. So like this. Yeah, see, this is the problem. Bugs do not like to make themselves known, which is rather annoying. Okay, well, I am going to... let's see. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I think I'll call it for today. I've been streaming for quite a while here. And I'll work on this some more. I'll probably end up doing a fair bit of work off stream, and then I'll come back when I've got something somewhat decent. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you again. Hopefully I'll be continuing this more consistently, so hopefully tomorrow I'll be on. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day.